Hi everyone, my name's Aaron McGuire, and real quick, I messed up filming this video because I ran out of storage on my camera, so instead of re-recording the video once I get an SD card, I'm just going to record audio for it and then show trailer footage during the movies I'm talking about. I'm sorry. But anyway, on with the point of the video. This year, I went to the New York Asian Film Festival once again. The New York Asian Film Festival is always a great time, so I highly recommend doing it if you ever get the chance to. Either if it's online next year, or if you want to fly out to New York, or if you're in New York. It's a great old time. I highly recommend it. So now I'm going to rank all the movies that I saw, ranking them from my least favorite to my favorite of the festival. And I do actually recommend watching a lot of these movies, because even the ones that I ranked pretty low, I still really enjoyed. Anyway, my least favorite movie of the festival was a movie called The Old Town Girls. This is a Chinese crime drama about a young girl who reunites with her estranged mother, and things start off great and then take a turn for the worse when loan sharks from her mother's past come back to collect their money. And the reason why this is my least favorite is because it just takes a long time to get where it's going. I think the entire first half of this movie dragged on without any suspense or intrigue, and then when things finally pick up at the end of the movie, it just felt like it was already too late. I feel like all of the characters lack any dimension since they're all just defined by the things that they do rather than actual traits. Despite all of this though, the performances are amazing for the most part. I think the child performers are especially spectacular. It's just a shame that the movie itself isn't all that great. The next movie I'm going to talk about is from Today It's My Turn, a Japanese comedy based off a manga of the same name, then turned into a live-action TV series, and then turned into a movie. I was excited to see this movie just because of the trailer, the over-the-top haircuts, the costumes, the performances, it all looked awesome. But this over-the-top style lasts the entire movie and is honestly just a bit tiresome after a bit, because it is just so high energy the entire way through. There are certain moments that are hilarious, there are certain moments that are a bit grating. The story is just really disjointed and lacking any kind of structure or pacing, and was just kind of weird. And there are also characters that just make stupid decisions that just make the movie needlessly longer. But what saves this movie from being downright bad for me is just the well choreographed fight scenes, and the performers are really just giving 110% in every line of dialogue and every action they make. So it was fairly entertaining, but not nearly enough as it should have been, in my opinion. The next movie I'm going to talk about is Rising Shaolin, The Protector. This is a movie directed by Stanley Tong, who did Police Story 3, First Strike, all that jazz. This movie stars Wang Bao-chiang, who is an incredible martial artist. He was in a movie called Kung Fu Killer that was really great with Donnie Yen. And this movie is inspired by the Shaolin Temple movies starring Jet Li in the 1980s, actually a movie series that inspired Wang Bao-chiang to become a martial artist in the first place. But looking back at those Shaolin-themed movies from the 80s, the aspects that make them stand out are the gorgeous cinematography and the stunning acrobatic choreography. It's crazy. You get to see people do some crazy stuff that like nobody else can do. It's bananas. However, Rising Shaolin just kind of looks a bit cheap with very noticeable green screen in a lot of scenes. The sets are okay, the lighting's okay, and there are a few moments that are really gorgeous, especially the stuff in the cave. That cave set, even though it's obviously a set, is gorgeous. It's really awesome. As for the fight choreography though, I only experienced one whoa in this movie. One moment where I went, whoa! And for there to be like really good action in a movie, I have to say whoa at least a few times, not just one time. The movie's tone is very conflicting too, starting off with like goofy comedy and then becoming extremely dour and then back to comedic and then back to serious for the rest of the movie. Many of the characters aren't really well developed, the story's really simple, but looking on the positive, I mean, it flies by, the pacing is so fast, and Wang Bao-chiang is an amazing martial artist and really gets to show that off. And even though the sets are unrealistic, it is campy and fun and sometimes gorgeous, like in the cave scene. But again, the two elements that make an amazing Shaolin-themed movie, unfortunately for me, are both missing. The next movie I want to talk about is All You Need Is Love. This is a really strange movie to talk about because it's a Hong Kong Lunar New Year comedy that was filmed during the pandemic, about the pandemic. The film follows a wacky cast of characters who are forced into quarantine inside of a hotel, and thankfully the movie isn't nearly as offensive or insensitive as it easily could have been. It takes a mostly safe route, thankfully, and it's just like too ridiculous to be taken seriously in any capacity anyway. And the movie knows this too, with scenes where overly privileged characters get overly dramatic about something, and that's the joke, and it mostly works. The idea of making a comedy about COVID-19 at all, though, may be offensive to some, and I mean, understandably so. But this movie knows what it is. It's dumb and fun, and it just makes a bunch of jokes and has a bunch of cameos. I thought the subplot with the gay gang leaders was the best part of the movie, and they thankfully take up most of the runtime. The subplot with Chin Carlock trying to kill Michael Hui is really great too, but most of the jokes just downright don't work, and some of the subplots are tiresome and have been done to death before. This movie's definitely not going to work for everybody, but I had fun, and that was the goal of the movie, so yeah. Also, Hong Kong cinema is dying. Let me pretend that it's still alive for just a little longer. Next, I'm going to talk about As We Like It. This is a Taiwanese comedy, drama, fantasy movie. It's inspired by a Shakespeare play called As You Like It, which just by me saying that it's based off a Shakespeare play, you can already guess that it's going to be extremely confusing. The thing is, with this modern adaptation, it doesn't do anything to really help with that, and instead just is extremely confusing and doesn't explain anything. Like, why are they doing this? Why is she becoming a psychic now? Why is this person in a boxing match? Who are these guys trying to kill him? What is going on? I have no idea. That is definitely the biggest issue that I have with this movie, is it's just so confusing and totally incoherent. But the things that make up for it are the cinematography, which I think is really good. It's very creative. It's certainly a really different turn on a Shakespearean play. It's just a shame that it's just so incoherent. I don't get it. I don't get the movie. But I admire it. Especially because Chinese censorship just bans every movie that has like a homosexual relationship in it. So the fact that they decided to go with this is extremely admirable on the filmmaker's part. I admire it more than I understand it or enjoy it, which is why I'm rating it so low. The next movie I want to talk about is Ninja Girl. If I could describe any movie out of this festival as quirky, it would be this one. Ninja Girl is a Japanese drama comedy about a girl who finds out that she's from a family of ninjas, and she must become one in order to clear the name of her grandfather's friend. And despite how funny this premise sounds, this movie is weirdly dark and dramatic in some instances, but then hilariously awkward in others. The whole premise is creative, and her struggle to become a ninja is very funny. But this tone is just off-put by these long, static shots with quiet dialogue, and it's really slow. It's a weird mishmash of tones that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't work. I'm not really so sure. But I guess I did enjoy myself overall, and I think that the lead performance is very entertaining. And the next movie is Sweetie You Won't Believe It, which is the first movie from Kazakhstan that I've seen. This movie feels like a retread of like American comedies from the 2000s where men do something irresponsible and they gotta pay for it, and it's just men being stupid and just comes off as annoying, and there's lots of immature humor and awful portrayal of women. This movie certainly starts off that way, but this movie takes a turn that I will not spoil in this video that just makes the whole movie worth it. The whole movie becomes so different and so much more entertaining than if the joke was just men being dumb. This movie just goes completely off the rails at a certain point, and it becomes extremely fun to watch. The cinematography for this movie is also better than most I saw for this festival. The performances are all really good too. It was just really creative and stupid and fun, and not much more than that. It's not really impactful or thoughtful or emotional, but it was a lot of fun, and I can recommend it as long as you can get past those first 30 minutes, which are honestly pretty rough. The next movie I want to talk about is Hand Roll Cigarettes. This is a Hong Kong crime thriller that's really stylish and gritty, has memorable characters, and a crazy ending. If you've ever seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that ending. Whoa boy. Oh my god. This movie basically follows a South Asian man who needs to hide in the house of a local Hong Kong guy. He's hiding some drugs. I really liked all the performances. The story was fast-paced. It didn't do anything amazing. It didn't do anything terrible. Some of it was very cheesy. The story didn't take any unexpected turns or anything. It was just really solid. I guess almost underwhelmingly so. It was just a really solid movie that I don't have a lot to say on. It was just fine. It was just a good movie. However, I think that it is noteworthy to mention that this movie is racially inclusive in a way, prominently featuring South Asian characters and actors, which is something extremely rare in Hong Kong movies. However, I'm not sure if the representation is all that great. I'm not South Asian and I'm not familiar with social issues in Hong Kong, so I don't feel like it's my place to say anything, but I thought I might as well mention it. It was just something that bothered me in the background while watching it, where I'm like, isn't this like a stereotype of this thing? I know that this movie's getting a lot of praise for that, for being racially inclusive. I guess it is in a way a good thing for South Asians so that they can get more roles in Hong Kong movies because there's a population there, but I feel like there's progress to be made. Again, maybe not my place to say, thought I might as well mention it. The next movie I want to talk about is Raging Fire. This is the new Donnie Yen movie, and there's a lot that I don't like about it and a lot that I really loved about it. Raging Fire is a Hong Kong action movie, again starring Donnie Yen, and it's the last movie directed by Benny Chan, who's a prominent figure in Hong Kong action movies, and he sadly passed away in 2020. The script is very generic and sometimes laughably bad. The subtitles in particular censored the F word for fart, so there's a scene where Donnie Yen says, "I can't believe this guy is farting with me." The story is also very generic and stupid and silly overall. There are many scenes that are meant to be taken seriously but just come off as really laughable. However, this movie wouldn't be out of place for a Hong Kong movie from decades ago, in which it was very easy for me to overlook how cheesy and nonsensical some of these stories are in favor of intense action sequences. So if I pretend this movie came out in the 90s, I think that it's pretty fantastic. The stunts and action sequences are some of the very best to come out of Hong Kong in the past decade. Benny Chan always knew how to film incredible action sequences, and this movie just goes to show his talent. If you've ever seen the Benny Chan movie Big Bullet, this movie is like the revamped version of Big Bullet. It is like very similar as far as being a police movie, but it just ups the ante so high. However, and there's a big but for this, and I don't want to get too political here, but I feel like it's inevitable considering what this movie's about. But this is a police movie made by Hong Kong, and there are many scenes that involve police using excessive force, and it just feels like it's not the time for that right now. And I would be lying if I said it didn't leave a bad taste in my mouth. And so I'm just thinking, do I judge this movie for its own merits, or do I take into consideration the real politics behind this movie and what it's trying to say? Am I overthinking this dumb, fun Donnie Yen movie? I mean, maybe, yeah, probably. So here's my general verdict for the movie. It's dumb. It's very, very dumb. All the non-action is very bad, but the action sequences are ones that I feel should be studied for generations to come as far as how to do it right. See, the thing is, I enjoyed this movie more than probably my top 3 movies, but I also thought it was worse than anything I had seen. So I don't even know, like, how to rate this. This movie gives me a headache, and I need to move on. The next movie I'm going to talk about is Tiong Bahru Social Club. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. It is a Singapore comedy-ish, kind of. There's a lot of things about this movie that are just really off and weird, but it's simultaneously extremely creative and different and more thought-provoking than many other movies that I've seen. Its themes about happiness are very interesting, and its observations about it are very interesting as well, and it's doing this all in a way that I've never seen done before, and it's quite entertaining. There are moments in this movie that are just really bizarre beyond belief, and I just was completely speechless by it, and I got to admire it. There's a lot of technical aspects that are really great, like the cinematography, but it has a really uncomfortable vibe, but I like it. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this movie because I think that it could be analyzed for a long time, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's very strange, but I liked it, and it has a lot to say on happiness and the pursuit of happiness and how you can achieve happiness. Next is Samjin Company English Class, which is a South Korean comedy drama that takes place in 1995 about 3 women who work for a corporation who investigate the company's effect on the environment, trying to expose its cover-up of a phenol leak into a neighboring town's water supply. The film effectively comments on sexism in the workplace and corporations' effect on the environment, though not in a subtle way, and it manages to be very entertaining still, with fun performances by all 3 of the leads, who really get to show their versatility with their acting. The film is really well shot with vivid colors and locations with great music choices that reflect the time period. My main issue with the movie is just that it feels it dragged on for a bit too much towards the end, and I personally would prefer movies that have a more subtle message. However, this movie's heart is definitely in the right place. It's very well intentioned. I think all of the messages it's getting across are very well done. But those are really my only complaints for the movie. I think that there's a lot of things that make this movie unique, and the message it gets across kind of outweighs its flaws, at least to me. At my number 2, I have Last of the Wolves. This is a harrowing Japanese Yakuza movie. This is the longest movie I saw part of the festival, running at 2 hours and 20 minutes. But I was shocked by how incredibly fast-paced this movie is. This is also certainly the most disturbing movie I saw as part of the festival, with extremely violent sequences and a story that tackles the corruption in the police and law enforcement. It was not a good time, but it was very intense and engaging. The film is really well shot too. The characters are all very realistic. They're all very enjoyable to watch and memorable. And the performances are fantastic. It's just really great all around. I really have no big complaints for this movie. I think it's very disturbing. I think it's very well made. And I just think it's a really fantastic Yakuza movie. So if you're a fan of gangster movies and stuff like that, I think this could definitely be highly recommended. Just as long as you're not too squeamish, because this movie, again, is very violent. It is very disturbing. And my favorite movie for the New York Asian Film Festival 2021 online edition is The Fable, the killer who doesn't kill. Japan really killed it this year with this festival. Even the movies from Japan that I rated lower are still movies that I really enjoyed. But this movie definitely takes the cake for me. It has a perfect blend of extremely brutal and dark content with hilariously silly characters. The movie opens with these gruesome murders, followed by this intense action sequence, which is mind-blowing and totally breathtaking, followed by the introduction of one of the most despicable characters that you've ever seen, followed by a proper introduction to our main character who has a parrot on his head while he's watching a parody of Japanese soap operas. It's wonderful. The way this movie's tone just balances on a tightrope is really something to admire. The pacing is fast, the characters are lovable or downright despicable, the story is very entertaining, and it tackles all of its serious subject matters in a way that's very tastefully done. Like, sure, the fighting and the violence in this movie when it's an action sequence is over the top and like graphic because it's fun, but it isn't overly gratuitous or exploitative when it deals with dark, serious subject matters. Despite being an action comedy, this movie's actually surprisingly low on action in the middle of it. Its main big set pieces are the ones that are at the very beginning and the ones at the end, and both of them are stunning. The finale is truly spectacular and unbelievably fun to watch, and the choreography is so fast. I really don't have a lot of bad things to say about this movie. I guess that some of the dramatic moments can be like overly melodramatic, but I still just love this movie overall and would probably recommend it most out of any other movie I've seen for this festival. Just keep in mind that it can be quite disturbing, and the film does cover some subject matters that may be uncomfortable or perhaps triggering to some people. Again, I do feel that it covers these subjects in a tasteful manner, but That's just my perspective. Anyway, I absolutely loved this movie, and I would definitely say it's my favorite out of the festival. I highly, 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 highly recommend it. It's awesome, it's funny, it's great, it's gripping, it's so good. And that is every movie I've seen from the New York Asian Film Festival. I am so sorry that this video is so late. The festival ended August 22nd, so this video is quite late, but I hope that you'll still check out some of these movies when they get a wider release, because I really do think that they deserve some attention. If you do see any of these movies, let me know what you think in the comments. I have some other videos down the line that I really want to get to, but they're just taking a lot of time to do, which is why I've been gone for a bit. Oh my god. I'm a busy boy. I'm very, very sorry about that, but hope to do some more videos very soon. And that'll be it for this video. I hope that you all have a great day. Hope you all take care. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you all for existing. You're all important. You're all loved. And I love you. Take care. See you soon. Have a great day. And goodbye.